Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Helen Young, and I'm one of the Paediatric Neurologists working in the Neuromuscular Clinic at the Children's Hospital at Westmead. As part of my thesis, I completed a research study looking at cognitive and psychological functioning in boys with Becker Muscular Dystrophy. Now, I've been asked the following question. Have any research studies identified whether BMD may cause developmental delays and other learning difficulties which may mirror autism or lead to a misdiagnosis of autism? So this is a complicated question. So I'll try and stick to what we have learned from research studies and also what we don't yet understand. And I think the first point to make is that Autism Spectrum Disorder, or ASD, is a clinical diagnosis, which is made when children demonstrate certain behavioral traits. Children on the autistic spectrum share a number of similar traits, but despite the common features, there can be a huge variation between individual children. So the spectrum can range from children who experience significant difficulties with cognitive function and language to those who have functional skills which enable them to live a normal everyday life. So the next important point is that ASD does not have one simple underlying cause. Genetic differences may be one cause of autism, but it's unlikely that there's one specific gene that causes autism. Rather, it might be that several genes combine and act together with other factors. We also know that certain genetic disorders co-occur with ASD. And what I mean by that is that ASD occurs in children with these genetic disorders at a higher rate than the general population. This does not mean that ASD has been misdiagnosed in these children. It means that the behavioral traits occurring in these children allow a clinical diagnosis of ASD in addition to their underlying genetic disorder. And one of the genetic disorders that's associated with a higher rate of ASD and also other behavioral, emotional, and developmental problems is Becker Muscular Dystrophy. So several studies have shown that although most boys with BMD have normal intelligence, they have higher rates of emotional and behavioral issues, including attention problems, specific learning difficulties, and ASD. And in a study we carried out at the Children's Hospital at Westmead, we found that the rate of specific learning problems in boys with BMD was between 20 and 30%. And 8% of the boys had a co-occurring diagnosis of ASD. Other studies have shown similar findings. A recent study by Lambert and colleagues from Cincinnati Children's Hospital found that autistic features were reported in 11% of their boys with Becker Muscular Dystrophy. So, why does this occur? Why are developmental learning and behavioral problems more common in BMD? What we know is that dystrophin, the protein that's deficient in BMD, is normally present in some parts of the brain, and that it has a role in brain function. We know that dystrophin is found in high concentrations in areas of brain concerned with memory and emotional regulation. Dystrophin has both long and short forms, known as isoforms, and it depends on the location of the mistake in the DMD gene as to which forms of dystrophin are affected. So some research studies have investigated the relationship between the location of the genetic mistake in the dystrophin gene, the loss of certain isoforms of dystrophin, and the development of cognitive and behavioral problems in boys with BMD. These studies have identified that there are trends towards associations between the loss of certain dystrophin isoforms and cognitive and behavioral problems. But research into this area is ongoing, as these are just trends, and at present it is still difficult to reliably predict which boys will develop problems. But really importantly, children with ASD can be helped significantly by appropriate early intervention and support. And these interventions are also effective in children who have ASD co-occurring with BMD. So if I sum up, ASD is a clinical diagnosis. ASD and learning difficulties commonly co-occur in boys with BMD. Dystrophin is normally present in brain tissue, reduction of brain dystrophin may be contributing to these developmental difficulties. It's difficult to reliably predict from genetic testing alone which boys will have developmental problems, and effective therapies for autism spectrum disorder are also useful in boys who have ASD co-occurring with Becker muscular dystrophy. So this was a very quick summary, and I hope it's helped. For more in-depth detail, I've attached links to some research articles at the end of this podcast. Bye for now.